talking about. Ooh.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs, located in the heart of the walkable Tarpon Springs Historic District and known as the home of the Innes paintings. We are a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. I'm Reverend Kristina Spaude, minister here of UUCTS. I'm glad you are here. I hope that you find meaning in today's service. Please consider joining us on a Sunday morning when we gather to worship as a community every week beginning at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom, or drop in for a more personal visit to one of our coffee hours starting at 11:30 on Sundays on Zoom. If you are new to the area or just learning about Unitarian Universalism, we'd love to meet you in one of our newcomer discussions, which are held on the second Sunday of each month at 12:15. Please refer to our website for information about how to connect with us on Zoom. Our service associate will now begin today's service. Let us enter this sacred time with open minds and open hearts.
Hello, my name is Jean Nelson, and I would like to invite you to our virtual service today. We would love to meet you at our service time each Sunday at 10:30 on Zoom. Our service today is led by Reverend Kristina with her message about grounding for the journey. Bonnie Whitehurst brings us the music, and our members use their skills to maintain the needed technology to bring the service to us on Zoom. May we begin today with the words of Alice Anna Chekna Nasimon, grounding in our faith. In a time of uncertainty, when everything around us is changing constantly, each day new developments, rising numbers, changing guidelines, when the world we live in suddenly seems upside down and topsy-turvy, we light our chalice to remind ourselves of our grounding in our faith. We remember that the flaming chalice came into being as a beacon of hope during World War II, a secret symbol that offered help. In the midst of it all, we wrap ourselves around the warm light of a familiar flame, a reminder of the strength that emerges when we come together in community.
Our story today, I'm excited to share because I am part Scottish, and this story comes from the Scottish tradition. although I never heard it growing up. And it's actually, there's a song that goes with it. If you are interested in that kind of thing, you can look it up. I am not going to sing it for you because I'd like you to come back next week. The story is called Always Room for One More, and it's by Sorke Nick Leotis. And I agonized over trying to get that name right, and then found out it's actually a pseudonym for a woman named LeClaire Gowans Alger. And the story is illustrated by Nani Hagrogian. And I am going to lean into my Scottish heritage and my Outlander fandom and hopefully get some of this Scottish brogue right. There was a wee house in the heather. 'Twas a bit o' a but and a ben. And in it there all lived together. Lockie McLaughlin and his good wife and his bairns, to the number of 10. There's a fire on the hearthstone to warm me, and porridge to spare in the pot, said Lockie. The weather is stormy, so me and my wife and our 10 bairns will be sharing whatever we've got. So he hailed every traveler that passed by his door, said Lockie McLaughlin. There's room galore. Oh, come away in. There's room for one more. Always room for one more. A tinker came first, then a tailor, and a sailor with line and lead. A gallowglass, a soldier of fortune, and a fishing lass, with a creel o' fish on her head. A merry auld wife full o' banter, 4 peat cutters up from the bog, piping Rory the ranter, and a shepherd laddie down from the brae, with his canny wee shepherd dog. He hailed them all in as he stood at the door, said Lockie McLaughlin, there's room galore. Ah, come away in, there's room for one more. Always room for one more. Rory's pipes set the rafters a-ringin' till the clock danced a reel on the shelf. And they all fell to dancing and singing, and a little dog danced by himself. Oh, the walls they bulged out and bulged in then. The walls they bulged in and bulged out. There will never be such a din then as come from the folks in the wee little house while they rollicked and frolicked about. They filled all the house up from door to door, but Lockie cried out, there's room galore. 'Twould be a tight fit, but there's room for one more. Always room for one more. Then the rafters, they clap it like thunder, and folks in the nearby town stood stock still to listen and wonder when the wee little house with its butt and its ben and its walls and its roof dinged down. Then the tinker and the tailor and the sailor with line and lead, the gallowglass and the fishing lass with the creel o' fish on her head, the auld wife full o' banter, the 4 peat cutters up from the bog, piping Rory the ranter, and shepherd laddie down from the brae, with his canny wee shepherd dog, and Lockie McLaughlin, his good wife, and his bairns to the number of 10, they all tumbled out again. And they gawked at the place where the house stood before. Oh, Lockie, they cried, there was room galore, but worry and woe, there's no room no more. Never, no room no more. They wailed for a while in the heather, as glum as a grumpety grouse. Then they shouted, have done with this blether. For Lockie McLaughlin, his wife and his bairns, will raise up a bonny new house. The house they raised from the auld one was double as wide and as high. Should an army come by, it would hold one, while Lucky McLaughlin, his wife and his bairns, and whoever else happened by. And then the whole lot of them stood at the door and merrily shouted, "There's room galore! Now there will always be room for one more, always room for one more." Our words of inspiration today come from Wendell Berry. This is called Wild Geese. Horseback on Sunday morning, harvest over, we taste persimmon and wild grape, sharp and sweet, summer's end. In time's maze over fall fields, we name names that rest on graves. We open a persimmon seed to find the tree that stands in promise, pale in the seed's marrow. Geese appear high over us, pass, and the sky closes. Abandon, as in love or sleep, holds them to their way, clear in the ancient faith. What we need is here. And we pray for not new heaven or earth, but to be quiet in heart and in eye, clear. What we need is here.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Won't you reach out to me with all of our voices and all of our visions? Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
It's time for the offering for the work and the welfare of this church. Please go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the donate button. Or please send your checks to 57 Reed Street. The entire address is right there on your screen. And thank you.
A candle, a small glass flower, and a broken chain are the items given by his father to Tristan Thorne, the main character in the movie and book, Stardust, which is a favorite of mine. All of the items are magic. The candle is a Babylon candle and will transport the holder, surprisingly, wherever their heart and mind might direct. The small glass flower is for protection, and the broken chain is enchanted and connects with itself. The young Tristan at 17 is on his way to adventure, to find a fallen star in the magical land of Stormhold. And this star is what he plans to present to his true love, Victoria, in a proposal for marriage. But these three things, the candle, the glass flower, and the chain, are what he has packed in his pockets as he sets out on this journey. When we travel, we all often take items we think we might need when given the opportunity to pack. Food, drink, and snacks were staples in our family car trips from Ohio to Connecticut when I was a child, as well as games and toys and books and anything else that would keep my sister and I occupied. And in the luggage, we had clothing, toiletries, you know how it goes. Maybe some items of comfort, stuffed animals, a favorite sweater, crafting supplies, or your devices. Maybe you have pictures or mementos of loved ones tucked away in your wallet, or wear a loved one's piece of jewelry. Regardless of the things we might take, we also carry our sense of self, our skills and knowledge, and everything else about who we are comes along with us wherever we go. Tristan Thorne is young, a poor fencer, a little impulsive, but he is also kind and earnest and has dreams about his life. This month, we have been reflecting together on thresholds, a new year, a new ministry together, some new ideas for governance and leadership. We are on the threshold of new adventures. Apart from the things that we might bring with us on this journey, this is also a good time to remind us of who we are. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, two things that we collectively look at to ground us in our identity are our covenant and our mission statement. Grounding ourselves in these two things will help us as we navigate through and forward. They help us orient ourselves on the path between here and there, between being and becoming. The mission helps us understand the where and the why, and the covenant helps us to understand the how. Now, I wasn't with you when either of these were created, so I may have my interpretations wrong, but I'm going to explore these two both based on what is written and what I have experienced you to be. We'll start with the mission statement, which I believe is older than the covenant. Missions are about who a group is, what their purpose is, and can also convey something about their values. Our mission statement proclaims, "We are a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts." Starting with that first beautiful word, we. It can be a tricky one at times, but I love this word, not only because by its definition, it means a designated group, but because it also implies some sense of shared identity and likely even some level of commitment to each other. And at its most basic level, it means people. Not some abstract group or faceless board or the pervasive but unidentified they. We commit to this identity and purpose. In other settings, naming being a liberal community might not be so bold, but here it is. As the most liberal faith in this area, and by more than a little, this tells people what they might experience in and with our community. We are not fundamentalists and value questioning, reason, and experience as our guide, both individually and collectively on our spiritual journeys. For all ages. This is a growing edge here, but this is very much a value for this congregation, and you have been doing the work to make this reality. You set up space dedicated to children and hired someone for childcare and had volunteer support. Just before the pandemic hit, you were beginning to try to figure out what programming could also look like for children. We are working to build on this foundation as you also sought out a minister who would support further development of faith formation programming. Then what follows is seen through the lens of this opening phrase, that we are a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. I wish that we had a little more clarity around what we mean by these terms, but I trust that there's a hope and aspiration among you to encourage and support spiritual growth for all ages, and as individuals, in groups, and as a congregation. We are social, but this is not a social club. It's a church. And we want our members and friends to grow in their spirituality and sense of faith. We also value social justice. This in particular is where I wish we had more clarity or direction. Social justice is a huge spectrum covering every issue that pertains to living on this planet. We support local initiatives and emergencies or disasters around the world. And you all have been doing the work, ongoing, of learning more about racism and white supremacy, LGBTQIA+ issues, and other kinds of marginalizations and oppressions. Now we are working harder on turning that understanding back onto ourselves, that we might change ourselves as we seek for justice in the world around us. And the arts. This is broadly understood in general and among us. The arts, from quilting and crafting to painting and design and more. This is a part of the mission that grows and ebbs and flows as desired and in response to the needs of the community. You are so generous and supportive in this area, and it is a truly unique ministry that you offer. So that is a bit about who we are and who we have wanted to become. Now, how will we get there? Our covenant offers us some ideas, some ways that we have agreed to be in relationship as we move on this path. The covenant reads, "We strive to look for and encourage the best in each other as we move toward justice, peace, and love for both ourselves and the world. And when we fall short, we will seek understanding, reconciliation, and a return to covenant." Again, the beautiful opening with we. We strive. we work for, we aspire to. A commitment not for perfection, but for trying. To look for and encourage the best in each other, perhaps both who we know ourselves to be, as well as the better selves we believe we can become. As we move toward justice, peace, and love for ourselves and the world. Words we perhaps believe we know what they mean, but may begin to wonder about in practice. What does it look like to practice justice, peace, and love between and among us? Perhaps we turn to our 7 principles to guide us. Perhaps we rely simply on what it means to be in covenant, to be in relationship with one another, to be committed to understanding and accountability and wholeness and growth. I'm honestly not sure, but my guess is that justice, peace, and love would encompass these commitments among them. And when we fall short, we seek understanding, reconciliation, and a return to covenant. When we fall short, not if, because we are human and we will fall short. Occasionally or often, it's hard to say for sure. Hopefully, over time, less. But we will fall short, so we strive not for perfection, but for practice and commitment. When we fall short, we will seek understanding, reconciliation, and a return to covenant. Understanding of ourselves and others, of the ways we hurt and harm, and how we can do better. Practicing vulnerability. Reconciliation of relationship, accountability, and relearning to trust. And returning to covenant, being called to that which binds us, our commitments to being with one another. Now that we have some roots digging down into the ground, I want to invite us to reflect too on our values. This is an often semi-unspoken part of our identity that is also vital to who we are, and specifically why I chose the story and words for inspiration today. It's important that a congregation knows who it is and what its values are, and to be clear about expressing them. Values tell the story about who we are and how we seek to make sense of this world, as much as our mission and covenant might tell us where we want to go, who we want to be, and how we will get there. This is a congregation of many welcomes. I've seen how you all delight in newcomers and welcome them over and over. For you, there is always room for one more. And part of the reason this story is so great for this service is because, like the crowd invited to Lockie McLaughlin's, this house, too, might bulge in and out again sometime. And we may find ourselves needing to rebuild when it has crashed down. Sometimes we need to tear the house down and rebuild it so we can be sure to have space for everyone, just like we're getting ready to do now with our governance structure. It can cause some anxiety and some grumping, but when we remember why and who we are doing this for, may we remember to move beyond the blether and into the building. This congregation is also smart, wise, skilled, and talented. You have weathered some major storms together, and individually as well, I'm sure. And while this is not a substitute for professional support when needed, there is so much the people of this congregation have to offer each other and the church. What we need is here. Our sense of identity and purpose, our values and dreams, they will carry us. This congregation has so much to offer and share. I'd like you to spend some time thinking about the values of this congregation so we can lean into them more as we move forward together. I can't see the future, but my guess is that not everything will be rainbows and unicorns as we move forward into shared leadership and governance. And that's okay. Church is a place you go where you get to practice what it means to be human, said James Luther Adams. So we are going to practice together. We'll do our best, and when we mess up, when we fail, may we be reminded of our mission, our covenant, and our values, that they might call us back to each other and then forward together.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While our hope of life's perfection fill our hearts with joy and love. Teach us ever to be faithful. May we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young lamb dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of orphans silent, feel our love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven has begun. Come thou fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher ways. Lift our gloom and desperation, show the promise of this day. Help us bind ourselves in union, help our hands tell of your love. While thy aid, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
Our closing words come from Jean Harrison Newyar. In The Gift of Faith, she has written, "In the lore of ancient China, there is a story of a philosopher who was asked, 'Where is the road called hope?' He replied, 'It does not exist, but as people move forward upon it, it comes into being.' I invite you to journey with me, always making room for one more and one more. on this path of hope with me.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
I hope that you found meaning in today's service. Again, I invite you to consider joining us sometime on Sunday morning when we gather for worship as a community. The service starts at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom. You are also welcome to drop into our Zoom room coffee hour any Sunday at 11:30 for friendly conversation. If you are new to the area or just learning about Unitarian Universalism, we'd love to meet you in one of our newcomer discussions, which are held on the second Sunday of each month at 12:15. Please refer to our website for more information on how to connect with us on Zoom. If you use the Connect Online button, it will take you directly to any of our activities. We look forward to meeting you.